German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is visiting Lithuania today to mark the deployment of Germany's first permanent overseas military unit since World War II. The 5,000-strong armored brigade will be built up over the next 2 years and aims to deter potential Russian aggression in the Baltics. Merz, alongside the German defense minister, is also set to meet the Lithuanian president to discuss strengthening deterrence against Russia. And our political correspondent, Giulia Saudelli, is with me now. Giulia, this is the first permanent German unit stationed overseas since World War II. And it's been a long time in the making, hasn't it?
Yes, so it was first announced in 2023 during the previous German government, although the defense minister who did announce it is still the defense minister now. And a first advance group of troops had already arrived in Lithuania last year in 2024. Now it's actually finally the brigade, which is going to be equipped also with tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, that is actually now arrived in Lithuania. Until the end of this year, 500 soldiers are meant to be stationed there permanently, but until 2027, it's meant to go up to 5,000 people, including 200 civilians, sort of supporting the troops. Now, this has been a big change for Germany because it really had not been getting involved with sending troops permanently abroad. And this came as a reaction to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Germany decided and really realized it had to step it up in terms of deterrence and also in terms of preparedness. So it signed this agreement with Lithuania in the context of NATO. And the idea is that these troops stationed in Lithuania, a country that is between the enclave of the exclave of Kaliningrad, which is Russian territory, and Belarus, which is a close ally to Russia, that these troops would be there to deter any possible intentions coming from Russia or its ally Belarus, but also to be able to react in case any kind of attack would happen.
Yeah. Stay with us for a second because there's plenty more to talk about. But first, during his visit, Chancellor Friedrich Merz will also talk with his Lithuanian counterpart about increased support for Ukraine. Of course, back in Germany, many critics say Merz is quick to make bold statements, but falls short of following through, like when it comes to the Taurus missile system. Let's take a look.
Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz used to be very vocal about boosting certain types of military aid to Ukraine. When visiting Kyiv last winter as opposition leader, he talked about helping Ukraine strike targets inside Russia.
We want to enable Ukraine's army to reach military bases inside Russia.
He also called on the then government to lift restrictions on the German weapons Kyiv had already received as a way of forcing Russia to make concessions. If that didn't work, he said, then other options should be considered, including supplying Ukraine with long-range missiles. In Germany, a controversial proposal.
If Putin doesn't respond, he must be told that unless he stops bombing the civilian population within 24 hours, Taurus missiles will be delivered.
And this was not the first time Merz had made such a call. He had previously pushed for a motion to have such weapons delivered to Ukraine immediately. But now, as Chancellor, Friedrich Merz is suddenly sounding more restrained.
I already said last year that we actually shouldn't debate the Taurus delivery in the first place. I had to debate it because there was open conflict within the then government. Taurus is being hyped up almost as if it were just below the nuclear threshold, but that's wrong.
His government spokesperson has even sought to end public debate on the matter entirely.
The German government will no longer comment publicly on the details of arms deliveries.
In Germany, critics accuse Merz of making bold demands, only to abandon them just as quickly.
Already during the election campaign, we've heard the new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz flip-flop on this issue a little bit, but he's also backtracked on some occasions, most recently since his inauguration as Germany's Chancellor. He's also called for Germany to be less transparent with its publication of military aid to Ukraine. Some could read this as maybe trying to shape the public discourse around this particular weapon system.
As Chancellor, he now faces the reality that what counts is not rhetoric and words, but deeds and action.
All right, Giulia, he's been known to flip-flop in the past. What role do you think he expects and he wants to play in Ukraine going forward?
Well, he tried to show that he is getting more involved as German Chancellor. He's tried to put more pressure on Trump, to himself put pressure on Putin. So we've seen him traveling to Ukraine with other European allies to show that, you know, Germany is strongly involved. He also was in a phone call with other European leaders talking to Trump and trying to push the European position that, one, there should be a ceasefire in Ukraine, and two, that it's necessary to increase sanctions. But we've heard from Merz already sounding quite pessimistic after Trump is not really responding to these kind of European requests. He's been saying that he doesn't see at the moment that there's any view or any expectation that a peace is going to reach quickly, and that we face some difficult days and weeks ahead. So it's looking a little more difficult maybe than Chancellor Merz had expected.
Giulia Saudelli, always great to get your insights.